Will we see another team continue to rise up, or will Peterbot and Pollo continue the domination from where they left off? Coming out of the dual cash cups, leading into the first couple of weeks of the qualifiers, they gave us a questionable semifinals performance, leaving us all wondering if whether or not they really are the true duo of this season. But finals, man, they are showing up as if they never, ever slowed down the pace here. And honestly, the numbers are telling us a story in its own here at the Grim Gate. The strategy is known, though. They go straight for that medallion, and now we know that they leave the drop spot looking for battles. But let's jump back in here. Golden Acorn was taken out fairly early coming out of last game after picking up their first 2 eliminations. What went wrong for them?
Well, for starters, it was Paper who really put a whole pin in their plan. That surprise pump that he had onto Acorn, while Acorn and Cold were trying to loot up inside of fencing fields, it just truly caught that duo off guard. It forced Cold to be in a situation where he's running around as a solo with like 3 other teams surrounding him, and that made it impossible for him to actually be able to prioritize a decent loot path, build up any sort of materials. And again, it's pretty quick just how fast the action could get going here. Bugha and Agers, of course, being contested at Mount Olympus, they're gonna waste no time. One more time, taking down Zeus and Pix. Back-to-back eliminations that have posed fairly well for this team so far.
I was going to say, I noticed while we were looking at that replay that Blake was caught as a casualty in the feed there as well. So I do wonder if the Grand Glacier is looking a little hotter than the usual cool temperatures going on over there. Here's a look at Zyro and Lin Kame. We saw Zyro, of course, with a big clutch up in the storm there against Cease and Jack, but it does seem like their drop spot is generally contested here. This offshore location right now by the Underworld.
Crazy to think that there's 3 separate teams this far west of the map. Keep in mind, Xavi Neko, they also like to drop a little bit northwest of that Underworld location. They could potentially look to third party what's happening just south of them, but Batman, Bugha, and Rapid have definitely found themselves in a pretty tight spot for all 3 lobbies so far today. We've oftentimes caught them, even if they've made it into the mid-game. They're low on materials, they're low on surge. It's just been a really rough start to the day for them. Considering how they just slunk in from semis, it seems as though their search strategy and game plan overall has just been a little bit tight to solidify, but that's the beauty of this competition though, MDF, is that Grands, you've got 2 days to work with, and the 1.5 times point multiplier in day 2 could go crazy for some of these teams.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of comeback stories happen on that day 2 with the point multiplier. I mean, it really just shows you, regardless of how well you play on the first day, 1.5 times the additional points. I mean, a couple pop-off performances and you are making tens, if not hundreds of thousands of more dollars just as far as prizing is concerned. And let's not forget, ultimately, one of the biggest prizes, you know, FNCS championship pickaxe aside, because we all love our cosmetics, is of course top 3 are going straight to the global championships, the in-person event happening here in Dallas, Texas. That's going to be exciting. That is what is really the icing on the cake, I'd say, as far as the celebratory FNCS championships that are being fought for here today.
Also makes things a little bit more interesting though, because again, when you look at a team like Peterbot and Pollo, who've had top 3 placements in both lobbies that have occurred so far here today, 1.5 times point multiplier could also prevent anybody else from catching up. Baka has just caught Bacon. Pars on the run now. Baka trying to see if he could squirm his way out of this one. Barely manages to create a little bit of space, but no shield. Trying to remember exactly where TK was last spotted at, but he doesn't have an opportunity to go for that just yet. He has to focus more so on just getting his shield recovery in general. Raze and Curly, that third-party engagement has just thwarted Baka and Pars' plans here to run down TK and Bacon at restored reels.
We're seeing really good performances out of Baka and Pars, but Yeah, not looking too good right now in these game 3 right here. And honestly, just I'd say overall, as they were up at 76 points and things slowing down for them. So luckily for them, they're going to be able to go ahead and slide out of here before things go any more south for them right now. You can see the effects of the battle starting to weigh into their material count. So this should allow them to continue to have a good chance here at the game. But take a look at it one more time from Baka's perspective. Jumps in and just fries bacon, quite literally right there. On the other side, Booga and Agers getting active here. Curve and Tyler, they do have to be careful. Although Booga and Agers are not having the hottest start to their tournament, Curve and Tyler have. And this is a team that can surely shut down your momentum if you make a mistake.
Without a doubt, but also because of the hot start that this duo has gotten off to, it is rather likely that Curve and Tyler, they've already got 2 eliminations. They don't necessarily need to fight against the likes of Booga and Agers. Sure, if Booga and Agers are going to continue to try and force the issue, then yeah, we might see Tyler and Curve be willing to take that box fight, but it's going to have to start with Agers and Booga dropping to where Tyler and Curve are at. They're more than happy to just continue expending their resources. Even though Agers has this waterbending mythic with infinity ammo, that is depleting a good amount of hard materials from Curve and Tyler. At the same time, Curve and Tyler are in such a good position on the leaderboard, they don't want to take unnecessary risk.
Very interesting. While that's happening, Mira and Dukes are just exchanging tags down here, finding Hazins and likely Magia Jr. shortly after. Take a look at this shot. Right on through the builds there, making it look easy. And then pressure on the other side. Pollo dives in onto Chance here, dashes past Aaron and finishes the job. Pollo falls here, and Peterbot forced to step up now. But it's the third party that's putting in the damage, throwing off the engagement here for a second. And luckily, that third party found the elim and then backed off there, not recognizing that Peterbot was actually hurt and Pollo was down. And what could have been the opportunity for the rest of the lobby now opens back up for Peterbot here because they get to pick up all this loot, right? It's not bad by any means. Uh-oh. Curve and Tyler, though, turning that battle around. We talked about it. You keep poking the bear, you're going to force them to fight. And Agers didn't really have a lot of mats. That's why Booga was down there farming. And look, the tables have turned now as Curve and Tyler have the high ground here. But this just might have to be an all-or-nothing situation. I don't see Curve and Tyler walking away from this one.
Curve and Tyler, we're just trying to fend their position. But now it seems as though they might actually have a chance to shut down Booga and Agers. Instead, though, Flowberry Fizz just going to scale up Mount Olympus, maybe recognizing the fact that there's just not enough materials for them to want to extend this fight any further. Not to mention, Curve having just spotted out another team being Sphinx and Threads directly underneath the building for fighting Zeus inside of Mount Olympus. This could be a really tough spot now for Curve and Tyler to actually rotate out of. They've drawn some attention, some very unwanted attention at that. And all the while, Booga and Agers, they seem like they might be a little bit better off than where Curve and Tyler are currently at, but for the most part, Curve and Tyler are completely stuck.
Yeah, there's a team there in the distance. You saw them trying to tag them up, just didn't work out. Agers is going to get knocked here to the storm, and I mean, you know Curve and Tyler are going to be seeing this. They're going to be reading the situation, and they do end up tracking him down and find and sideline Booga back to the lobby. Another huge point swing here now for Curve and Tyler, just cushioning their situation here on the standings as they are slowly but surely maintaining a solidified position amongst the top 5 right now. You love to see new teams finding their opportunities and chances here on the FNCS stage.
Yeah, but for Booga and Agers, you got to be careful what you're wishing for. They wanted that fight earlier on, and they got it, but not in the way that they had been intending. Muzz, Paper also trying to extend their engagement up against the likes of Raze and Curly. Curly getting lit up, half shield already. Muzz, Paper just barreling down on the front side of these walls. Muzz now gonna split his direction just a little bit, side by side now with Paper, trying to see if he can get another line of sight established to take down either Raze or Curly. but they're just pushing this duo even further back, suppressing them inside of their own builds.
You
Gotta
can see
be
what
quick
Muzz
about it.
Muzz very, very smart. Holding the cone there gives you full visibility, recognizing that the team was changing layers there. And just playing super smart with the angles there. This is why Muzz is an exceptional player in these types of situations. And although they have 0 mats, I mean, still very, very much dangerous as you're seeing this fight play out here. But the biggest danger, I'd say, is TK, who's lurking right behind them, waiting for his opportunity to pounce out.
Oh, but this could be tragic for Paper. Health absolutely depleted at this point. Fortunately enough, Muzz did have one final medkit to spare. But now that leaves Muzz with a soul banana as his resource for white HP. Kind of just crouch walking around currently. Here at Restored Reels, TK still lingering. Hasn't had a chance yet to try and rotate out, but Muzz and Paper, they really just want an opportunity to try and refarm some of their materials, and one more team gonna join the mix here as well, Cease and Jack.
Look at this, might be a little clash of titans here. Epic Whale Clicks versus Kanata. And Cooper down low, team up in the distance. Clicks missing these very, very important tags right here. For Epic Whale, needed that damage right there. Fortunately, not going to alleviate the pressure from that team, but they don't want to peek for too long. Meanwhile, Cooper and Kanata, much different conversation for their loadout. Their situation in this tournament is spectacular right here, all things considering.
Coming out of Carolyn's Crossing as well, Cooper and Kanata have covered a decent amount of ground. Wing's gonna help them, slightly quicker rotation. It is incredibly efficient for these short spurts of rotations. Epic and Clicks though, left or right, pick which way you want to try and fire back. Empen and Palm, Cooper, Kanata, two teams you do not want to be caught in the crossfires of. And poor Clicks and Epic Whale, they're just stuck in the middle.
Just a whirlwind of trouble everywhere for them, unfortunately. You know, I respect Bolts looking down the shining light of what seems to be a sniper or something. I wouldn't, I know that for a fact, but Bolts is there to trade. Nothing comes out of it though, unfortunately. They don't find the tags they were looking for. The standings, however, giving us the update. They're in 6th place here, inside that top 10 comfortably right now. We jump back with Clicks and Epic Whale. Again, material count starting to dwindle here, but a new team enters into the conversation. It's Rapid and Batman Booga here, but the fight for the capture point, right? Clicks and Epic desperately need this here. The first time we see them positioned up on the Rift Island here. What comes out of it? Plenty of upgrades here. That's a good capture point there. And now I think confidence is probably surging right now through Clicks.
Maybe just a little bit. The fact that they got away from that initial sandwich situation they were just in is impressive enough as is. But Clicks and Epic, even though they got the capture point, they know that there's at least 1 or 2, if not more, teams surrounding them here at the Rift Island. They've got to be careful while looking for an opportunity to refarm some materials. Definitely an ample amount of brick here on Rift Island, but Cooper and Kanata potentially be under duress here. All depends on how desperate Clicks and Epic are for a fight, and desperation might not be the right word for it. If anything, Clicks and Epic, they just want to clear out space. Let everyone know, hey, this is our territory to some extent. Do not bother us while we are farming.
Yeah, you got to also think about it. Like, Clicks and Epic are only 150 above the surge. They know that's going to be a looming problem here as the time continues to tick on here. Tavern and Edgy find themselves 98 damage below, and not only that, they're inside the storm right now. It's about as rough as it gets. Meanwhile, there are a couple of duos here. I see G-Monster, I see Reciprocal being one of the few in front of them. I think we're going to see a fight break out here shortly as Tavern's trying to open something up here, but G-Monster and Reciprocal Love that they're taking the more passive approach here, throwing walls down. Not trusting Tavern and Edgy to be passive duos here. Nope, not while the Surge is active. And this might be just the end for Tavern and Edgy, honestly.
Even if they make it near edge of zone, they're just going to be so in tatters by then. Medkit already being exposed. Tavern, shield crack. No one nearby at least to hear it. But when you are this far below the damage threshold, in such a low mobility meta, no wings, no fizz, Tavern and Edgy are just clinging on. But I'm right there with you, MDF. Even if they make it into the zone, they've expended so much to get there in the first place that the next rotation is going to be just as brutal, if not worse.
Yeah, I respect the hustle. One opportunity here for Edgy, and he misses the shots, and that, my friends, is just going to be it. If he tagged Cease and Jack there with the sniper shot, Tavern would have had a chance. However, that should conclude their game number 3 here. We'll see them a little bit later in the day, I guess. The game 3, the halfway point, right? The checkpoint of the tournament here. Really giving you a feeling for who's taking the lead here for day 1. Clix got an epic whale, only 50 damage above. Now we see again those early signs of why they were trying to fight Kanata and Adris, who had the base down low. And it's only going to continue to become more and more difficult for them here. It's an uphill battle. Meanwhile, Re and Ritual find 2 eliminations, so we might be seeing Re and Ritual be another top contender here for day 1.
Interesting enough, though, Clix and Epic, they found an engagement, but they are not on the better side of it. Falling just below the damage threshold. Clix getting pieced up, and with no shields, no HP, that Storm Surge is going to be enough to count him out of this 3rd lobby. Epic still trying to do what he can, but he's just having to expend practically all of his fizz. Still looking for Neko or Zavi, but Neko and Zavi, they've probably heard the shield crack at this point. He's so close. Epic just gonna throw himself above the damage threshold with a nice connection off of that Gatekeeper shotgun, but still, he is in an absolutely dire situation. Will pick up the loot that was left over from Clix. This is just not good scenes, though, for Epic. It's a 2 versus 1. He might be able to clutch it out, but does it really leave him in an ideal position either way? Probably not.
I think there's still a chance, though, in a world where he can pick up Clix, which is crazy to say considering we're getting late into this, but I mean, that's going to come off the backs of him actually giving up this fight right here and just moving on with the tournament. However, it does seem like he's committed to trying to earn these points. I believe that he thinks he's got the health advantage considering how long this fight's been in the storm, right? Don't forget, he does play with those visual cues, so he likely knows that this team hasn't had a lot of time to heal. He's found a lot of tags, and look, yeah, he's still keeping the pressure on Neko here, not letting them just slip away for free. And as he plays passively, though, the damage is starting to go back and forth. Don't forget, while he is waiting idly, other teams are likely fighting right now still. Given the circumstances in there, the Storm ends up knocking one of the 2 players. But there's no way he could track him, right? Like, he's finding the needle in a haystack at this point, trying to figure out where the body was dropped.
It was Zavi and Neko taking the launch pad to try and escape because they have such a long rotate to make, but
there's the
the reason why this is so difficult for Epic is even with those 3 medkits, the odds of bringing Clix back into this one here in 7th zone, and that's if he can even deal with some of the congestion that's sort of pooling on the edge of this next zone. Epic is doing everything in his power to try and play for placement points, but it is an incredibly difficult situation to make a comeback from. Teams like Kanata and Cooper that were on top of that Rift Island, they rotated so much sooner. Good connection, though, from Epic. That's the damage he needed. Puts him in a slightly more comfortable position here at 195 above now.
And not only that, just opens up a 2v2 down low between Acorn Cold and those duos that were tagged up right there. I'm sure Acorn and Cold heard the shield crack onto Not Braden and tried to capitalize. Nothing came out of it, though, unfortunately. You can see they are looking worse for wears right now after this rotation here. Npen with the surge above him, sitting on top of Epic Will's base. Can Epic Will find the refresher here? He likely will. The tag was good, but shots come in from the side, and Acorn snipes up the elimination right there, and he's contemplating if whether or not jumping in for the loot is worth it, but there's no heals there. And instead, shot from behind. No, Cold opened the wrong wall, exposing his duo mate there for a second. A misjudgment, if you will. It's going to cost him the game there.
To be fair, though, Acorn was peeking for a long time at a fairly exposed wall, so whether it was the front or the back, he was bound to draw the wrong sort of attention from that position. Good stuff, though, out of Ritual and Reet as they pick up an elimination onto Chimp. Ritual as well. Frostmon, 0 opportunities to get that next rotate off. And tuning right back into Mixon and Paco, who have been cleaned up inside of the elimination feed. And that's definitely going to put a bit of a damper on their top leaderboard run, as now other teams have a real opportunity to catch up. Dukes, Miro, absolutely obliterated at the same time. But that's just some of the power that Iamzo and Rise can bring to the table.
Yeah, just a crazy trade of events right there. Curve and Tyler reaping the benefits of what's happening here. Meanwhile, Peterbot and Pollo setting themselves up for another high ground dominant position here over the rest of the lobby. The only team I can think right now that can give them a run for their money, Curve, Tyler, Baka, Pars, who we saw finding their equal share of eliminations even now in the mid to late game. And then you have Kanata and Cooper standing here who have just made it to the new zone. This is already developing to be an insane end game right here. Meanwhile, Muzz and Paper finally finding their footing right now, but is it too late? So far in the storm here, Muzz with the tech trying to dive across, but unfortunately didn't have the HP to survive it, and now it's up to Paper to try to fend for himself here as a solo. Nearing a top 15. This is a lot of points here available as Paper desperately needs it.
He just doesn't have any builds. He's hiding on top of somebody else's cone. Convict spots him out, but Convict absolutely torn down trying to challenge Paper out in the open like that. Paper, though, that was the last of his builds. All 5 of them just got used up. Maybe he'll have an opportunity to go get some of the siphon materials. But at the same time, he knows there's just too many eyes on his current position. He can't afford to make a single move. And look at Peterbot and Pollo, the team that we saw them chopping from height. Skittles, Trashy, remember earlier on in this exact match, Skittles, Trashy, they had no idea the kind of advantage they had over Peterbot and Pollo. Now they're paying the price along with the rest of the lobby. Peterbot suppressing so much more efficiently with this watch bending mid that he just does not miss. Good night, Bryce.
It just doesn't get better than that. Peterbot ripping Bryce to shreds there with the water bending, but hold up, jump in with Iamzo and Rise on the foot rotate right now. Lot of traffic here as they're only 36 above the damage threshold. They will likely have to keep getting active. Meanwhile, Reet does fall here, leaving Ritual to play for himself. Pressure's on from all angles here. The zone is starting to constrict itself. We're inside the top 15, and this is where things start to get really, really interesting if you're alive here in this endgame.
Keep in mind, this is Reet and Ritual's backyard, just about. Reckless Railways, the final moments of this third lobby. Kanata still as a solo, still trying to make it work. Iamzo opens up the wrong wall, pays the price, as Sphinx and Threats will get credit for those 2 eliminations onto Rise and Iamzo, but Ritual, very familiar scenes, playing things out from the low ground, trying to see if he can make the magic happen. Peterbot also incredibly low, given his current position. Seems as though somebody's taken note of where he has dropped to, but he's still got Pollo way up above in the skies, bearing down over the rest of the lobby.
Yeah, one thing we know for certain is that a win is not guaranteed until you close the game out, and Peterbot taking all the risk in the world. I mean, but that is how you solidify yourself a championship title, if you can break away with those extra points. First, though, Kanata has to continue to make his way through here. The zone's going to bounce back up and over this little lip. He's going to be happy he didn't commit to the low ground here. Bak and Pars working their way back up. This is Bak and Pars' chance as well to get themselves inside of that standings of the top 10 now. Likely a top 5 depending on how far they can push it here. Kanata finds a solo. That's Walker's down. Placement points issued out to the lobby, and contenders that need it are playing alive as solos right now. Kanata falls. This is going to give Viv and Chubbs a chance now. Another end game here for Viv and Chubbs.
Viv and Chubbs, even if Kanata had broken through that wall, he likely would have encountered these two. Probably found the end of his fate here regardless, but Peterbot, Pollo, they're lining up for another top 3. Pollo, elimination credit now onto Chubbs, likely still perched way up above the rest of this lobby. We see Ritual kind of slinking just behind Baka and Pars, might have even spotted them out. But now Pollo reunited one more time with Peterbot. Both of these players just suppressing, throwing so many shots towards these teams on the low ground. Everyone's builds running so incredibly thin. Even with the zones pulling back in their favor, it doesn't seem to make a difference when nobody has much materials to work with. Ritual, in fact, might have found an isolated Aviv. Instead, no, pull underneath him goes away. And it's going to be Baka and Pars who try to shut him down. A Minish will be the first one to nail in the coffin there for these two. And now Baka, Pars. Again, just so much chaos breaking place.
Here comes the high ground teams looking to clean things up in the 2v2. Once again, this time though, Peterbot is going to have to lead it. But the team on low ground, Baka, Pars, no shields, and Pollo is fully healthy, so he jumps in, finds Baka with a huge tag here, and they are successful in the end as Peterbot and Pollo take a second and then first place, bringing the Thunder in game number 3.
It's like they were building up for this moment. I mean, Vivid asked for it. I want to see these guys take a victory royale at the halfway point of day 1, and deliver they did. Third in lobby 1, second in lobby 2, first now in this third lobby, MDF. That is an impressive run so far here in day 1 of the Grands.
Yeah, it's nice to see them do it during the weekend. That, of course, matters, right? Taco, they're coming in, they're stepping up, and they're putting the numbers down.
They could not have picked a better time to really come alive, because there were definitely a good amount of doubters. There's certainly so many haters as far as Peterbot and Pollo are concerned, but despite it all, they are just continuing to flourish here in the first day of the Grand Finals. And if they keep this up, MDF, they're already starting to run away with it a bit in the leaderboard. Even with that 1.5 times point amplifier, it's going to be tough for anybody else to catch up.
That's right. Well, we do know anything can happen. That's the halfway point here. Peterbot and Pollo putting up the big points. Zeke, I'm sure the standings now are looking like a runaway train.